President Traoré, alongside many other Pan-African leaders, has been an outspoken critic of France's historical role in shaping Africa's development. France's colonial legacy and ongoing exploitation of Francophone African nations remain a topic of intense debate. Did you know that some European leaders have openly accused France of impoverishing Africa? This issue isn't just about history. It's about Africa's present and its path toward true independence. The question remains, can Africa break free from these cycles of exploitation? Or will it continue to be caught in the web of foreign influence? Stick around as we dive deeper into this crucial topic, unraveling the intricacies of neocolonialism, Europe's vested interests, and Africa's potential paths forward. Before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe to the African Web and hit the bell icon to stay updated with insights about Africa's progress and challenges. France's legacy of exploitation. France's colonial footprint in Africa is undeniable. By colonizing and exploiting the resources of Francophone African nations, France fueled its growth into a global economic power. While the colonial era officially ended decades ago, its effects linger, embedding themselves in modern policies and relationships. From the late 19th century through much of the 20th, France systematically exploited Africa's natural and human resources. Crops such as cocoa, coffee, and cotton were cultivated on African soil but exported to enrich France. Precious minerals and labor were similarly taken, building France's industries while leaving African nations impoverished. In 2019, a heated exchange between Italy and France highlighted these colonial dynamics. Luigi Di Maio, then Italy's deputy prime minister, boldly stated, "If today we still have people leaving Africa, it is due to several European countries, first of all France, that didn't finish colonizing Africa." His remarks ignited global discourse, forcing Western nations to confront their role in Africa's underdevelopment. Di Maio criticized the CFA Franc, a currency pegged to the euro, which he claimed allows France to maintain control over the economies of 14 African countries. For those unfamiliar, the CFA Franc is much more than a currency. It is a tool of economic dominance. Established in 1945, it ties African economies to the French treasury, limiting their financial autonomy. The implications of such a system are staggering. African nations are unable to devalue their currency or make independent monetary decisions, often leaving them vulnerable to economic crisis. Furthermore, France demands that these nations deposit a significant percentage of their foreign reserves into French banks. The question is, how can African nations ever hope to achieve economic self-sufficiency under such conditions? Italy's current Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, echoed Di Maio's sentiments in recent years. She criticized France for exploiting African labor and resources, offering Niger as a poignant example. Despite Niger supplying 30% of the uranium that powers France's nuclear reactors, 90% of its population lives without electricity. Such a glaring disparity underscores the depth of France's exploitative practices. Meloni's words were direct and scathing. Liberate Africans from exploitative Europeans rather than transferring them to Europe. Her remarks, though aligned with Italy's migration concerns, inadvertently exposed the systemic injustices that persist across Africa. Italy's motives: genuine advocacy or strategic opportunism. Although Italy's criticism appears to champion Africa's liberation, is it truly altruistic? The European migration crisis has seen thousands of Africans seeking refuge, prompting Italy to seek ways to curb migration. This raises the question, is Italy's rhetoric genuine, or is it a strategic move to address its domestic challenges? The narrative becomes murkier when examining Italy's actions. While their condemnation of France appears sincere, it is also deeply entwined with their desire to manage migration flows into Europe. The influx of migrants has strained European economies and politics, creating fertile ground for leaders like Meloni to advocate for solutions that serve both domestic and international agendas. Unpacking the Mattei Plan. In January 2024, Prime Minister Meloni introduced the Mattei Plan for Africa. This initiative, unveiled at a summit in Rome, was attended by African leaders and global organizations. The plan proposes to address Africa's development challenges while reducing illegal migration to Europe. However, upon closer examination, its central focus lies in securing energy resources to meet Europe's demands post the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Mattei Plan outlines various development projects, including renewable energy training in Morocco, school renovations in Tunisia, and agricultural projects in Kenya. While these initiatives appear promising, their true emphasis is energy development. Italy seeks to position itself as Europe's energy hub, channeling African natural gas to the continent. The funding for the Mattei Plan is significant, with $5.9 billion from Italy's budget and €3 billion from the Climate Fund. Yet, much of this funding comes in the form of loans, further indebting African nations. Critics argue that such financial arrangements are a modern form of neocolonialism, trapping Africa in a cycle of debt dependency. African Union President Moussa Faki Mahamat voiced his dissatisfaction with unfulfilled promises. "We must put words into action. We are not satisfied with promises that are often not kept." Opposition lawmakers in Italy also criticized the plan, branding it a neocolonial scheme designed to exploit Africa's resources. France's continued control. France's grip on its former colonies extends far beyond monetary policy. Through shadowy economic and military agreements, France exerts significant influence over trade, banking, and politics in Francophone Africa. This hidden empire allows France to continue benefiting from African resources while maintaining a veneer of support for development. French-speaking African nations transfer about $500 billion annually to the French treasury and deposit 65% of their foreign exchange reserves in the French central bank. This system ensures that France remains a dominant economic force in these nations, stifling their growth. France also monopolizes military agreements, ensuring its former colonies remain reliant on its support. From peacekeeping missions to counter-terrorism operations, France's involvement in African security often serves to protect its own interests rather than those of the continent. Africa's path forward. The narratives surrounding France's colonial legacy and Italy's Mattei Plan highlight a common thread. Africa continues to be a battleground for foreign powers pursuing their interests. Both France and Italy claim to champion African development, but their actions tell a different story. Africa must chart its course independently. By rejecting exploitative agreements and fostering genuine partnerships, the continent can achieve sustainable growth and economic autonomy. The time has come for African leaders to prioritize sovereignty and invest in their people. True independence requires collaboration with nations and organizations that respect Africa's autonomy. From regional partnerships within the African Union to collaborations with Asian and South American nations, Africa can diversify its alliances, reducing its reliance on Europe. Education, healthcare, and infrastructure remain critical to Africa's development. By empowering its citizens, Africa can create a skilled workforce capable of driving innovation and economic growth. Africa's journey toward independence and self-reliance is fraught with challenges but filled with potential. The exploitation by foreign powers like France and the self-serving initiatives of nations like Italy highlight the need for vigilance and determination. What are your thoughts on Africa's future? Can the continent overcome external exploitation and truly thrive? Share your opinions in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the African Web for more insightful discussions on Africa's journey to independence.